Okay, Shalom family. This video comes by request. Brother Albert asked that I do a video for those who are contemplating suicide as they are battling depression. He left this comment on another video that I just recently did, and so right away I felt the need to address this because I've been talking about spirits and how people are easily manipulated and controlled by spirits. And so I felt the need to address this at the request of this brother. Now, when you understand depression, we've talked about it before, depression can come in many forms, from many directions, for many reasons. It can be set off by the death of a loved one. It could be financial problems. It could be marital problems, issues with your children, all kinds of things. And it could also come from the suggestions and thoughts of demonic entities. Okay, it can come through music. I heard someone say one time, a perfectly sane person, they said that they listened to a song and the song was of the sort that afterward they were thinking about suicide. You hear what I'm saying? After hearing a song, a person who had never thought about it before said that they were thinking about suicide after hearing this song. This is why we have really been on the subject of putting on the whole armor, understanding the increase in demonic activity, arming yourself spiritually with knowledge and understanding from the Ruach HaKodesh, because if you don't know what you're dealing with, you will allow yourself to entertain thoughts that will send you in the direction of suicide. My husband had a friend a long time ago. They were like best buddies. They were in their late teens, early 20s. Okay? And this young man, he was dark-skinned, real dark-skinned, and he was always, trying to get young women to talk to him. And for the most part, they would ignore him because he was really dark, but they were looking at the other fellas. And he took that stuff to heart. And my husband said there was one case where he actually cried because a young woman didn't like him, you see. Now, what ended up happening was life's battles got too much for him up here. It wasn't just the rejection of young women, there was other things too. So many other things that came at him. And it got to the point where he just couldn't take it anymore. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe he was between ages 20 and 21 when he finally committed suicide because he couldn't deal with the depressions that was going on up there. Now, I want to say this to whoever this is for, once you understand that there are demonic entities that are constantly battling against your mind, you will begin to see how important it is that you arm yourself spiritually. That you don't take these things lightly, because depression is one of the main things to usher in a suicidal thought. Because you will take that thought, and usually with depression comes a pondering or a meditation on what it is that ails you. Anyone who's ever been depressed before, or even have the spirit of heaviness, that's like the spiritual way of defining depression. Depending on what it is, anyone who has been depressed before knows that a person tends to sit back and think about and ponder on and meditate on the thing that is troubling them. Let's take the loss of a loved one. The loss of a family member, a close family member, very close family member that you love dearly, will cause you to reflect on that person to the point where you can find yourself filled with tears and emotions constantly. And for some people, the tears are actually healing. But for others, as in the case of a spouse, many times, a spouse or a child, many times if a person loses a spouse, or a child, the devastation can be so heavy on them to where they choose not to live anymore. What needs to happen in those cases is this person needs to arm themselves spiritually ASAP. This person needs to not reflect on the death of this person. Mourn the amount of time that you need to mourn. But as soon as the thought enters in that you can't be here anymore, that you can't stand to live anymore, that's when you have to take note. And you have to say, I rebuke that thought. I will not entertain that thought. You can miss and you can love this person, but do not entertain, because as soon as you begin to entertain the thought, what's going to happen is the enemy is going to start telling you different ways you can do it. How to make it fast, how to make it quick, how to end it all with this or with that. He's going to suggest things to you because he hates you. The enemy hates you, and so he's going to send his little demons and his imps to give you suggestions on how to do it. If you can, if you're a person who is battling depression and you're contemplating suicide, if you can, if this is available to you, you need to find yourself a person that is spiritually able to console you. I'm going to tell you right now, not everyone is able to do that. Some people can push you further into depression, even if they're saying kind words. If a person has a certain spirit, that spirit that's causing you to think this way will actually play off of that and cause you to go further into this depression, to cause you to want to commit suicide. People can be used to push you over the edge. This is why I talk so much about these things, because I see an increase in demonic activity. Even in well-meaning people, or even in people that you would look at and you wouldn't think anything like that is even possible in their lives. There are some people that you see on a daily basis, people that have come around you, people that are near you, people that live in your community, that go to school with you, work with you. There are people around you every day that have demonic spirits dealing with them. Not just on an issue of suicide. It's not always about a particular thing, but it can lead to that. There are people who are actually magnets for demonic spirits. Whether they're allowing these demonic spirits to whisper to them, use them, or possess them. Listen, family. There are some people that you deal with on a daily basis. Some of them might even be church folk. Some of them might even be Hebrew Israelites who say Shabbat Shalom and everything. Keep their head covered. All of that stuff. But they are filled with demons. And all it takes is the right thing to stir that demon up. I'm going to tell you one thing too. A demon is so crafty. He knows who to use. He knows who to possess. Because this person literally opens the door. They literally open the door to the demons. Now, if you are a person who is contemplating suicide, the last thing you want to do is ponder on those thoughts, because that will allow a demon to take over and actually use your own flesh to carry out what it wants to do, which is kill you and destroy you. I'm going to give you a good example of what I'm talking about. There was a minister in Detroit at a very well-known church who had a demon and no one knew it. After all, he's a minister. He is a minister. Wasn't a pastor. He wasn't a pastor. He was a minister at a particular church. And he was dating a young lady, and he went to do something to this young lady. And we're talking about a minister. And when this young lady cried out to the Most High, let me tell you what that demon did. The demon was trying to kill her. My husband has shared the story before. He was trying to kill her, but when she cried out to the Most High delivered her. And this is how he delivered her. The knife that he had, that he was going to use on this young woman, he stopped as she cried out to the Father. And he took that knife and he sliced his own wrist. And he almost bled out on her floor. That demon wanted somebody dead that night. And he didn't care who. He was going to use this man to kill this young woman. But because of her crying out, the Father heard her cry. And he slit his own wrist. But let me tell you something. He didn't die. He didn't die. But that demon that was in him, that possessed him, tried to get him to commit suicide. Suicide is very dangerous, family. Depression is very dangerous because it can lead to suicide. And let me tell you something. This is why it's very important. If you are someone who is feeling these thoughts, if you are someone who are hearing things and feeling like you just don't want to be here anymore, and not in the sense of wishing that the Most High would just come and take you away, but someone who wants to make it happen, I'm telling you right now, you have got to fight that thought. You have got to fight that thought. I'm starting to feel more and more that the way we deliver a message has got to change, okay? With all the love that we feel for our people, we have got to speak a certain way in the days ahead. Now, when I decided to address Brother Albert's question, I was going to speak softly, in a sense, as with encouraging words, but in a softer way. But I still want to speak in an encouraging way, but not in a soft way. I need you to understand, or whoever it is that is going through this, that if you are feeling that way, if you are feeling suicidal, if you are depressed to the point of suicide, the battle is on. If you don't want to lose your soul, the battle is on. You have to kick depression out. Look at depression like it's an enemy that has come through your doors and that it has tried to take you out or take your family out. You have got to take this thing personal. Depression is a demonic spirit that will rest on you if you allow it. If you allow it to come into your heart or into your mind and you do nothing to resolve it, you can be destroyed. Now, I say that with love, family, because I see many people are starting to see the increase in demonic activity. The video I just recently did, in which Brother Albert commented on, I've seen many people saying that they can feel something in the air. Something has changed. Something is different. Not everybody feels this, but there is definitely something different in the air. The scripture says, "He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Ruach is saying to the assembly." The Ruach is telling you to pay attention. Just like he that have an ear. He that have eyes, let him see what is going on. And I'm talking spiritual eyes. Because many of us walk around with our sight, 20/20 vision, perfect sight, but we can't see anything in the spirit realm. All we see is what's on the surface. It's time out for all of that. You've got to start seeing what is under the surface. You've got to start seeing the enemy pointing and laughing and plotting against you. You've got to be able to see the enemy that is being used by people to cause you to be out of the spirit. People are being used increasingly, especially if you have an assignment on your life. The enemy is going to use as many people as he can. But I must serve notice or warning on those people that are allowing themselves to be used. You have to be careful that you are not spit out. or that you are not cast aside, or that you are not held over for the tribulation because of your willing participation in wickedness. If you are a person who is causing someone grief, you have a lot of repenting to do, and fast. Repenting is not saying that I'm sorry. Repenting is to change. You don't want to be the one that's causing another person to have a spirit of heaviness because of some dirty, rotten, filthy wickedness in your heart. Too many people allow wickedness to rule in their hearts to the point where they don't even realize that they are damaging this person over here and causing someone to feel depressed to the point of wanting to commit suicide. Many times it comes from another person. Not all the time, but many times it comes from the things that another person is putting you through. I say to anyone who is battling this, be encouraged and put on the whole armor of Yah so that you may be able to stand against the wiles and the devices of the enemy, of the devil. It is the enemy that is throwing these fiery darts and causing you to question whether or not you should be here, and causing you to not have enough faith or trust in the Father to see you through things. I want to encourage you, whoever you may be, I want to encourage you to get in the Word, get on your knees, and the tears that you cry during that depression, why don't you give those tears to Yah? Give those tears to the Father. Cry out to Him, and I guarantee there will be healing for your soul. And with that, I will say, I love you, and shalom.